Oh, wow, my pens.
Gifts again.
2023.
Chief's giving away
I like,
gifts.
I like these pens because they're easy to find because they have the hats on.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Joe. Keep in mind, the mics are live now. Mics are live. Okay, just so you know.
Doing some work at my friend's house on Mountain Road. And
Put Trusty
trailers up
Brain's
there, it's too muddy
packet
to
back
get
in your
in
little
back.
box there, because
So I was gonna have my son drive
probably
down
not
from
gonna make it
Mountain
tonight.
Road.
He said
with
that
my buddy
the
Derek,
event with his
follow
daughter's
him,
gonna
pick
go a
up
little
my
bit longer,
son.
so. But he stopped by the manure lighting and then split from there, so.
I'm like, no, I'll speak to the chief tonight.
You know what, I'll give you even more.
All right, so no problem?
You're a nice, yeah, no problem, Rich.
Oh, Rick. Good, thank you.
Do
you know Derek?
Pretty good. Hanging in
Couple
there.
of days.
Yeah, rough.
No, my
Nice and
son's
rough.
Jack. Derek.
Here, this is for.
Thank you,
Lisa,
Chief.
to Mr. Junior, to make sure it goes in the right spot.
Chief, I'm gonna do this, because I have them left from last year. Can I trade you 2 of these for an extra magnet?
Oh, for
'Cause I'll put one
God's
in my office
sake.
and one at home, and I'll give you those back, because I got the ones you gave me last year. I haven't used them yet, but I will take the 2 magnets, thank you. All right, thank you. All right,
Meeting adjourned.
we got a couple minutes.
Yeah, it's at 6:57.
All my questions. All right, Gene, let's see, Gene, where?
Let's see what news I can break tonight.
Oh, no, here it is. All right, I thought I had it.
All right.
Very good. That's,
So the rabbi from the Shabbat in New Windsor actually came to see and oversaw ours in Village Square, and then hustled uptown.
You mean Sally wasn't there? Well, she was uptown though, you bet.
Oh, yeah. But they did a nice
Making
job.
sure
They had
it
they had
gets
they had a
done.
truck with a giant menorah in the back.
Making sure it gets done right.
Yep, absolutely.
We don't wanna make any mistakes.
There's the next page.
And I didn't realize this, and Susie confirmed it. I didn't realize this, but the menorah's been there.
Oh, yeah, it's been done.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That's what I mean, these people who complain.
Rams at the
I
Packers.
just don't answer.
Oh, no. Joe gave us a good workup. We're good.
You can't go back and forth.
Yep.
Fourth
I
and
mean,
inches,
that-
the
that
Jets
was
give up a
for
51-yard
just
touchdown.
don't-
Yep.
They wanna run it because everybody.
I tell you what was cool though, me and my son were driving home from Killington yesterday, so we listened to the whole soccer game on the radio instead of watching it.
yeah,
The announcers were phenomenal.
yeah,
It was
sure,
really cool.
sure.
Really cool to listen to it on the radio, because I never watch soccer or listen
Yeah,
to
neither do
soccer.
I.
That was an exciting game, though.
Well, I was just saying, the
What
thing
a
that was so
game.
cool is me and my son were driving home, so we listened to it on the radio instead of watching it. We
that's
could-
pretty
we could,
cool.
And the announcers were phenomenal.
Yeah, it was Fox, right? Fox announcers.
Fox, it was on Fox, yeah, Fox Sports.
Good evening, Manny.
Senor Carmona.
I like the department issued hat. Department issued hat.
If you tell me I'm wrong,
And that faux body camera, the,
He's all business. I love him.
Hey, Rich,
Yo,
there you go.
it's been 4 days.
I thought you were doing a budget transfer to get me a real nameplate.
When's the budget due? January what, 21st?
All right, please stand for the pledge.
It'll be in there. Mark my words.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, please be seated. And I am going to make a motion to open up the business meeting of the Board of Trustees for December 19th, 2022. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. For the record, Trustee Brain there's a possibility he could be here late, but his daughter's performing at the high school, and he is there with his wife, so he may not be here. So we have 4, so we have a quorum. All right, first matter of business tonight is to establish a public hearing on a local law to override the tax levy limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3-C. And on the back table, next to where Brendan is standing, there is a black binder. In that black binder is going to be the full text of this law to override the tax levy. So I'm not going to read the entire thing. I'm going to ask it to be placed in the record per document. Did I do that right? Per document? And I'm then going to call to order the public hearing to override the tax levy limit. And may I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on the matter? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. For public consumption, the tax base growth factor for the village of Cornwall and Hudson in 2023 is 1.0063. The proposed levy increase with the 2023-2024 draft budget is 0.605%, which is just slightly under the tax cap. I'd like to further report, it's important for the village to be able to provide, quote, essential services, close quote, and that the board adopts a local law to override the tax cap each year, because even if we propose a tax levy less than the tax cap, the New York State Comptroller's Office could update our numbers and then essentially bring us over that amount. That in turn would cause the village then to be in violation of the tax cap law. So this is a pro forma thing we do every year. All right, if anyone wishes to speak about this proposed law, this is the portion where they can step up to the microphone, state your name and your address, and speak just to this issue. Is anyone interested in public comment? Looking around, I see no one. So, hearing no one for or against the introductory local law, I will now propose a motion to close the public hearing at 7:04 p.m. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on. All right, this is a long one, but again, I'm going to direct you to the body of the document in the black binder in the back if you wish to review this. A local law providing for the administration and enforcement of the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, the Uniform Code, and the State Energy Conservation Construction Code, the Energy Code, in the village of Cornwall and Hudson. The law is basically 26 pages, so I'm not going to read the entire thing. I'm going to ask that it be placed in the record per document. And moving on, in similar fashion, I am going to furnish a public hearing providing for the administration and enforcement of the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, hereafter referred to as the Uniform Code, and the State Energy Conservation Construction Code, hereafter referred to as the Energy Code, in the village of Cornwall and Hudson. I'm going to call it to order. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now I'm going to seek any public comment in regards to this proposed amendment to the village code, or am I saying that right, to the, Joe? To the, it's going to be to our code, but it's a New York State amendment, correct?
Yeah, the state does this occasionally. Last time I recall was about a little less than 15 years ago. So the state has a mechanism whereby the state amends the fire code and the construction code, and then requires local governments to include that in their local code. Why they do that way, I don't really know. It seems to me we would have to follow the state law anyway. But this happened about 15 years or so ago. And now the state has revamped the fire prevention code and the energy code. Thank you. And the local governments are required to adopt it. Actually, if we didn't adopt it, there's a provision in the law that somehow it would be enforced through the Secretary of State. But no reason to do that. Nobody does that.
Okay, well then, before I take a vote, then I should open up the public comment, correct?
Correct.
So public comment, only speaking specifically to this proposal. Does anybody wish to speak to this at this moment? Okay, hearing nobody. So then the question becomes, do we keep this open for any time period? I know that this has to be done by December 31st, or do we close it right now since there is no public comment?
I would suggest that the board, well, you don't have another meeting, so I would suggest that the board close it. I have prepared a resolution to adopt
Yep.
per local law. So the board can
Yep.
close the public hearing and move to adopt it, or
Okay.
wait till you get to that on the agenda.
Okay. All right, hearing no one else speak up for or against the introductory local law, I'd like to propose a motion to close the public hearing at 7:08 PM. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now we can move into public comment on anything. Does anybody here tonight wish to address the board? There'll be an opportunity at the end of the meeting as well. Seeing no one, we will move on. All right, regarding the minutes, I'm going to make a motion to accept the November 21st, 2022 business meeting minutes as presented. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd also like to make a motion to accept the November 30th, 2022 special meeting minutes as presented. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
If I may suggest.
Yes, ma'am.
Kane and
I know.
Cartwright were not there.
Right, I
So
didn't-
you don't
Oh, I'm
actually have a quorum to vote on that tonight without.
Oh,
bringing
you're
you.
right. Okay.
So we're gonna have to table those minutes.
We will
Oh,
table
okay.
that. All right, thank you. Okay, tabled.
Why didn't?
Trying to get back from Vale's Gate,
Yep,
and you can-
got it. Okay, good point.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the treasurer's report. The open utility balances report for the end of November reads as follows. Village water, sewer, garbage, and penalties, $275,082.72. Town water and penalties, $437,000, $437,611.47. I'd like to make a motion to approve the December 2022 warrant number 12 and authorize payment, including prepayments totaling $511,226.01. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. The revenue and expenditure reports by fund are as follows. General fund revenue, $4,209,695.90, with expenditures of $3,343,267.01. Water fund revenue, $1,944,313.53, with expenditures of $2,080,849.60. And finally, the sewer fund revenue, $462,634.47, with expenditures of $301,128.07. Total receipts, $6,616,643.90, or 84.21% in anticipated revenues, and $5,725,244.68, or 72.87% in anticipated expenditures through the end of November. The balance collected for the sewer capital is $519,153.24 through the month of November. Moving on to board department reports, beginning with the building department. Trustee Carnwright.
One second here. No, I should have it, right?
You want it, Dave?
I got
No, I have it.
Yep.
Building Department report for November 2022. Building permits issued 19. Certificate of compliance occupancy issued 8. On-site inspections 35. Complaint inspections 5. Violations 0. Work orders 0. Stop work orders. Municipal searches 4. Solar panels 1. Fire inspections 4. Short-term rental inspections 2. Town of Cornwall assists 0. Manny Carmona code enforcement.
All right, thank you. Manny, anything to add? Anything in particular? Anything happened today, well, after our meeting this morning too? Were we good? Okay. All right, moving on to the fire department. Deputy Mayor Kane.
Okay, the fire department report for November 2022, with respect to events. There was one vehicle fire, 3 automatic alarm. There was 1 motor vehicle accident. There was 6 assist EMS. They had 2 drills, 2 meetings, and 2 apparatus station maintenance events. And then lastly, 1 SCBA fit testing. Total amount of events was 18, and the total volunteer hours was a bit north of 195 hours. The chief notes that the SCBA fit testing, second year in a row that the active members are 100% compliant. Sand in the Village Saturday, 12/17, went well with the food drive. They repaired the pump on tanker 415, and engine 412 is awaiting repairs for the crew compartment door. The repairs he notes that the repair parts are becoming obsolete and hard to find. Michael Trainer, Chief. Thanks, Chief. Anything to add, Chief?
Not at this time.
Okay, great, thank you. Got it. Okay, with respect to the Cornwall and Hudson Police Department, their November report. Okay, so there were a total of 341 total calls for service. With respect to criminal mischief, there was 1 criminal mischief, 3 harassment, aggravated harassment, and with respect to misdemeanors, there was 1. As for vehicle and traffic, there was 1 personal injury accident, responded to 4 property damage accidents, 5 traffic summonses were issued, 5 traffic warnings are issued, 2 parking summonses were issued, 4 traffic enforcement posts, and 2 speed/radar sign postings. As for non-criminal activity, there were 3 fire response calls, 1 domestic incident, 10 alarm response calls, 4 suspicious person calls, 1 suspicious vehicle call, 4 suspicious activity calls, and 6 animal complaints, and lastly, 1 disorderly juvenile call. As for department assists, there were 5 to the town of Cornwall PD, 5 to EMS, 2 to other police agencies, and 6 to citizens. The chief notes during the month of November, both Police Officer Thompson and CAPSAC attended the standardized field sobriety testing, which was held at the Orange County Police Academy in Middletown, New York. During the month of November, the police department officers also participated in TASER recertification training, which was held at the Cornwall and Hudson Police Department headquarters. Also in November, the police department participated in Orange County Stop DWI grant funding enforcement. And that's it. Chief, anything else?
Just the one thing I added, I guess we could probably do that during the resolutions to, because I sent an amended report actually this afternoon.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm just requesting formal resolution to transfer approximately $7,200 from the Cornwall and Hudson Sales of Equipment line, number A2665, which was the sale of the 2014 Ford Interceptor SUV, and transfer it to the Cornwall and Hudson Police Expense line, number A3120.400.
Jim, you want to make that motion?
Yeah, we can do that right now. Just give me that last police expense line. What was the number?
Yes, sir. It's number A as an apple, 3120.400.
Okay. I'll make a motion to transfer $7,200 from the Cornwall and Hudson Police Department sale of equipment line A2265, which represents the sale of the Ford Interceptor, to the Police Department expense line A3120.400. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We're off, dude.
All right, moving on to, Chief, anything else? Okay. Department of Public Works, Trustee Carnwright.
Okay, Department of Public Works, November 2022. Trash collected for the month, 121.56 tons. Recycling collected for the month, 32.50 tons. Yard waste collected for the month, 120 yards. Blacktop patching continues. Sewer main maintenance continues. Removal of several tree stumps. Tree trimming along the roads. Sweeping of streets. Fall cleanup of village-owned properties. Roadside leaf pickup and gutter line cleaning. Bandstand and tree along with the village hall prepared for the holidays. Winter equipment prepared and staged for the season. Notes: our 2015 International garbage truck is at the dealer due to loss of power. Had to be towed. It is believed to be an electronic issue. Only half of the cylinders are firing. I'll advise the mayor and the board as soon as they have information. Dave Halverson, Superintendent Public Works. Do we have any information on that, Dave?
Not yet.
Okay.
Haven't got anything back yet.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, just gotta make sure we hit that thing so it's green so they can hear you online. Okay, moving on to Water Department, Trustee Gaylord.
All right, November 2022 monthly report. Monthly production, 19,014,000 gallons. with a daily average of 637,000 gallons. We collected 38 samples in accordance with our approved water quality monitoring plan. Completed the annual Department of Health inspection. Black Rock water treatment plant remains offline while New York State DEC SPEDI's permit is updated. There were 68 utility markouts were completed. Service line leak repaired at 119 Mailer Avenue. Repair pressure regulating valves on Maple Road, the Boulevard, and Hudson Street. Water shut off at property owner's request, 36 and 38 Algeron Street, 117 Main Street, 22 Laurel Avenue. New service installation at 125 Mailer Avenue. Flushing of fire hydrants on the Boulevard and Lower Mountain Road. Install snow markers on fire hydrants, winterized fire hydrants. Meters, red commercial meters, red town residential meters. 8 final water meter readings were completed. 12 residential water meters were replaced. 14 meter transmitter replaced. 6 water line inspections completed. Capital improvement, Mill Street Water Main Improvement Project has been completed. And on continuing education, Don Bride and Dan Nye at the Hudson Valley Water Works Conference. And the other is assist the Valesgate Fire Department at structure fire at number 10 Beeks Road, terminated the water service. Sincerely, Michael P. Trainer, Water Superintendent.
Chief, anything to add?
Just that I'll be on vacation out of the area from January 4th through the 10th.
And you'll have Dan Nye and Don Bride will do their
Correct.
usual splitting of the tasks and
Yep.
handling the oversight and supervisory role.
Correct.
Okay. All right. New Windsor and Cornwall EMS, Deputy Mayor Kane.
Okay, the report for November 2022 with respect to personnel. The chief notes that a full-time paramedic resigned and is going to fire service. And he notes that they're in dire need of paramedics and notes that this is an industry issue. The FTO program has begun with formal training in March. As for operations, there were 368 total dispatches, 100% of the calls were covered. 385 patient encounters, 277 responses in New Windsor, 58 responses into the town of Cornwall, and 17 into the village of Cornwall on Hudson. Mutual aid and others, there were 10 to the town of Newburgh, 7 were Crystal Run ALS intercepts, 0 to the city of Newburgh, 3 to Woodbury, and the Cornwall unit covered those, 1 to Highland Falls, and again, the Cornwall unit covered that, and 2 to Blooming Grove. The average response time is 7.17 in New Windsor. The average response time in Cornwall is 6.33 minutes, and for Cornwall and Hudson, it's 6 minutes, 18 seconds. With respect, the New Windsor units have responded to 2 second calls in Cornwall, while the Cornwall unit responded 8 times to third calls in New Windsor. There's been a total of 3,447 calls for the year. There were no vehicle accidents. The vehicles are going in for service and snow tires. And last 2 items were the first public Narcan training was conducted and was very successful, and training with their agency medical directors has had a large turnout. And that's Chief Michael Biggs.
All right, I just want to make one point. I spoke to, anytime something happens in Cornwall in regards to fire or police, the major events, the chiefs always reach out to me. And there was an incident that happened, I believe it was Saturday night in the city of Newburgh, where an ambulance, AMBULANZ, EMT was outside of their vehicle in the city and was struck and seriously injured. They performed CPR at the scene, and apparently the EMT is now on life support in critical condition. So I only highlight that to suggest how dangerous the job is when you're responding to calls and you're on the street, and so. Okay.
I got a quick question.
go ahead, Dave.
That I'm sure Mike or Charlie can answer. When they say responded to third calls in New Windsor, what does that mean?
I think that it means New Windsor has 3 active calls going on at that time.
Okay. No, I was just wondering what that means, because I see that a lot, and,
Yeah, they have two ambulances on duty, so when those two ambulances are tied up, they go on the third call and vice versa. We only have one ambulance on duty. When there's a second call, their extra ambulance comes over this way.
okay,
That's my understanding.
thank you, thanks.
All right, moving on to the resolution portion of tonight's meeting. And we are going to move to adopt local law number 2 of 2022 to override the tax levy limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3-C. I'm going to introduce the following resolution and ask this board to move for its adoption, or ask the board to adopt it. Whereas the resolution was duly adopted by the Village Board of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson on November 21st, 2022, scheduling a public hearing to be held by said governing body on December 19th, 2022 at 7:01 p.m. at the Village Hall located at 325 Hudson Street, Cornwall and Hudson, New York, to hear all interested persons on a proposed local law to override the tax levy limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3-C, and whereas a notice of said public hearing was duly advertised in the Cornwall Local, the local newspaper of general circulation of said village, and whereas said public hearing was duly held on December 19, 2022, at or around 7:01 p.m. at the Village of Cornwall and Hudson Village Hall, and all parties in attendance were permitted an opportunity to speak on behalf of or in opposition to said proposed local law or any part thereof. And whereas the Board of Trustees is the lead agency with respect to the consideration, review, and determination of the significance of the aforementioned legislative action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SEQR, in Part 617, now therefore it is hereby resolved that the adoption of said proposed local law is an unlisted action under SEQR, and be it further resolved that the Village Board finds that the proposed local law has no significant adverse environmental impacts and issues a negative declaration thereon, and that the adoption of the proposed local law is in the best interest of the residents of the village, and be it further resolved that the Village Board of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson hereby adopts said local law number 2 of 2022 of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson, a copy of which is attached hereto and made a part of this resolution, and be it further resolved that the village clerk be, and she hereby is, directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson, and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of State of the State of New York. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. Next resolution is the adoption of local law number 3 of 2022, providing for the administration and enforcement of the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, hereafter referred to as the Uniform Code, and the State Energy Conservation Construction Code, hereafter referred to as the Energy Code, in the Village of Cornwall and Hudson. I'm going to introduce the following resolution and ask the board to adopt it. Whereas the State of New York amended the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code and Energy Construction Code effective on May 12th, 2020, and whereas based on the revisions to the Uniform Code and Energy Code, corresponding amendments were required to 19 NYCRR Part 1202 and 1203 with respect to minimum standards applicable to local governments that administer and enforce the Uniform Code and Energy Code, and whereas the local governments in the state of New York are required to adopt legislation conforming their local codes to state law by December 30th, 2022, and whereas a resolution was duly adopted by the Village Board on November 30th, 2022, designated the board as lead agency, and scheduling a public hearing to be held by said governing body on December 19th, 2022 at 7:01 p.m. at Village Hall to hear all interested persons on a proposed local law amending the village code to provide for the administration and enforcement of the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code and the Uniform Energy Conservation Construction Code, and whereas on November 30th, 2022, the Village Board, pursuant to Part 617 of the implemented regulations of Article 8 of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, preliminarily determined that the adoption of said proposed local law was an unlisted action under SEQR, and whereas notice of said public hearing was duly advertised in the official newspaper of said village according to law, and whereas said public hearing was duly held on December 19th, 2022, on or about 7:01 p.m. at Village Hall, and all parties in attendance were permitted an opportunity to speak on behalf of or in opposition to said proposed local law, and whereas the village board of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson, after due deliberation, finds it in the best interest of said village to adopt the foregoing amendments to its code, now therefore be it resolved, the village board finds, 1, that the proposed local law is classified as an unlisted action under seeker, it has no significant adverse environmental impacts, and issues a negative declaration thereon, and 2, that the adoption of the proposed local law is in the best interest of the residents of the village, and hereby adopts said local law, and 3, hereby directs the village clerk to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson, and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of State of New York. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Just a quick question for Manny. Do you notice that the changes in the code are substantial?
They're not substantial.
Okay.
Not gonna make a major difference. They just added a few other things and so that we are more directed to enforcing the new 2020 code that was approved by the
Okay,
mayor.
all right, I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna switch these two, Gene. All right, I'm just gonna do something out of order here. Okay, over the past several months, feels like longer than that, the deputy mayor, the attorney for the village, and the code enforcement officer have been in conference and discussed our fee schedule, which we are seeking to approve. It has been reviewed by all members of this board, this village board, all 5 of us, and on the advice and counsel of our attorney and our building inspector and the deputy mayor that took this project on behalf of the board. A final draft of the fee schedule, the 2022 fee schedule, was presented to the village board. What was the date on that, Gene? It was in November, right?
November 21st, that's the.
November
most recent
21st.
one.
All right. So, understanding that there are no further questions or comments from the village board members that have had their opportunity, tonight I'm going to make a motion to approve the November 21st, 2022 Building Department updates to the 2022 fee schedule as prepared by the Code Enforcement Officer, Mr. Carmona. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'll amend the motion to, as per document dated November 21st, 2022, permit fee schedule, Chapter 76, Code of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson. 6 pages.
Is that fair? Is that accurate? All right. Any further discussion? Already got a second? All in favor? Aye.
Thanks for your work on this, Manny.
Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Counselor, and thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. All right, now, the 2023-2024 draft budget. We're gonna set a public hearing date and time for same tonight. So I'd like to introduce the following resolution and ask the board to adopt it. Whereas in accordance with the New York State Village Law, Section 5-5083, the Village Board of the Village of Cornwall and Hudson wishes to set a time and place for a public hearing to obtain input and to consider the proposed budget for the village's 2023 fiscal year. Now therefore, it is hereby resolved that a special meeting be scheduled by the village board for the purpose of conducting a public hearing in order to receive public comment regarding the proposed village budget on January 9th, 2023 at 7:01 PM in the Village Hall boardroom, and any other business that may come before the board. And it is further resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized and directed to cause public notice of said hearing to be given as provided by law. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. Moving on to the authorizations of appropriations of fund balance. I'd like to propose a motion authorizing the appropriation of $14,003.94 from A990, which is the general fund unappropriated revenue, and increase A, or Alpha 3410.2, which is the general fund fire equipment, by $14,003.94 to pay for damages to the 2005 Pierce pumper truck that occurred on July 19th, 2020, when responding to a fire call on Maple Road. May I have a second?
Second.
Before I ask for further discussion of the board, Chief, Assistant Chief, anything to add to that?
No.
No? Okay. Seems fairly straightforward. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. The backstory on this is that the village filed an insurance claim and received a payment on August 26, 2020. The check was credited to the A or Alpha 2680 Insurance Recovery. I'd also like to now make a motion authorizing the appropriation of $10,952.97 from line Alpha or A 990, the general fund unappropriated revenue line, and increase the Alpha or A 3410.2 general fund fire equipment by $10,952.97 to pay for damages to the 2005 Pierce pumper truck that occurred on March 18th, 2021, when vehicle hit a parked vehicle. I'm going to note that the village filed an insurance claim and received payment in May of 2021. That check was credited to Alpha or A 2680 Insurance Recovery. Chief, Assistant Chief, anything to add or say?
No, nothing to add.
All right. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to budget transfers. I'm going to make a motion authorizing a budget transfer in the amount of $4,092.79 from the general fund insurance recovery, A or Alpha 2680, to general fund fire equipment, Alpha or A 3410.2, to pay for damages to the fire chief's vehicle on August 1st of 2022, when another vehicle backed up and hit the chief's car. The village filed an insurance claim, and it was received in September of 2022. May I have a second?
Second.
Chief, Assistant Chief, anything to add? I'll take that as a no. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. I'd also like to make a motion authorizing a budget amendment increasing general fund revenue emergency disaster assistant, line Alpha 4960, in the amount of $103,245 even, and increasing the general fund expenditure sidewalks line Alpha 5112.3 in the amount of $103,245. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. I should have probably explained this
Yeah,
before we voted,
little
but,
background.
okay, yeah,
That's all
the
right.
background on this is that this is ARPA money, which is used for infrastructure, and one of the village's big focuses, and I know I drive Dave crazy with it and the board, is ensuring that we have a walkable village and repairing and replacing sidewalks that have fallen into disrepair. So we went a little over our projected budget this year. The ARPA funds allow us to use that, just a little bit, Dave said. The ARPA funds are allowed to be used for that, and so these two transfers are from that. So I'm also going to make a motion authorizing a budget transfer in the amount of $103,245 from the American Rescue Plan Act to the General Fund debiting emergency disaster assistance line Alpha 4960 and crediting the sidewalks line Alpha 5112.3. So I hope all that makes sense. We had to move it from two places. All right, may I have a second?
Second.
Dave, anything for us to add on that, or are you just going to tell me no more sidewalks this year? All right, I think we got our money's worth this year. All right, without further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We don't have to do that. No, we already did it.
Excellent. All right, moving on to the next line. That's right, that was the Chiefs. Yep, okay. Okay, so now, all right, moving on to the acceptance of the telephone system upgrades proposal and a request to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with ITC. The 5-year telephone system lease with ITC Communications for the village ends on December 30th of this year, 2022. I'm in receipt of a proposal from the company known as ITC, India Tango Charlie, to upgrade our current technology and includes on-site parts and labor on all equipment. This proposal is about 15% less compared to the current agreement. The current monthly payment is $1,010.16, and the village, if we agree to this, and I'm allowed to sign this contract, will realize a monthly savings of $98.61. So I'm going to make a motion to accept the ITC proposal dated December 13th, 2022, and ask for an authorization for the mayor to sign a 60-month lease agreement at $911.55 per month. May I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Did this have to go out to bid?
No, they have the current lease.
Okay.
Yeah, this did not have to go out to bid. They have the current lease, and council for the village took a look at the contract. All right,
And they're an excellent company.
okay, good.
And the 9/11/55, it's N plus tax.
We don't pay tax.
We don't
That's
pay
right.
tax.
All right.
Yeah.
Come on, Jim.
All right,
Look at the contract, so we're good.
all in favor? Aye. All right, 2 items under DPW. The first is, at the recommendation of DPW Superintendent Dave Halverson, I'm gonna make a motion authorizing the promotion of Patrick Cody to Motor Equipment Operator, or MEO, effective December 19th, that would be today, 2022. Before I ask for a second, Dave, anything to add on that?
6-month probation, it's customary.
Okay.
I think that's what we've been doing with our promotions and stuff,
So
so.
even if it's an in-house promotion,
Even, yeah.
6 month is standard? Okay. All right, may I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Any trustee have issues with any of that? The promotion or the probation?
Patrick, good.
All right,
Good man.
all in favor? Aye. All right, Dave, Jim, you want to do
Yeah,
this
I'll
one?
make- I'll make a motion to authorize Dave Howison, the supervisor of DPW, to post, per the contract, the CSEA contract, for a position of senior motor equipment operator. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, all right, moving on to other business. I'm gonna, again, go out of order here because it's just easier for me. And we are going to, I think council used the term ratify. We are going to ratify the decision of the Fire Commission regarding officers for Storm King Engine Number 2, beginning January 1st, 2023. Did I get that right?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
May I be heard?
Yes, sir, you certainly may be heard.
So since I circulate, this afternoon I did have a call with fire chief and the deputy chief. And since that time, I have had a further discussion with the Deputy Chief Quinn. So I have some very minor changes to the language that was in my email
Would it,
that more closely track the language of the statute as
is it
pointed out by
substantive or
council.
something that's gonna change?
I can read it. I
what
can
we're
read
gonna
it.
do? So would it make
I'll
more
read it.
sense for you to read it
I'll read
then?
it.
Since you have the additional?
mhm.
All right, go ahead, have at it.
All right, so, Mr. Mayor, you can ask for a motion and a second to adopt the following resolution. At the recent fire company election, the company delegates met and nominated Charles R. Quinn as the fire chief and Michael Traynor as assistant fire chief. The Village Board of Fire Commissioners recently voted to accept those nominations. Pursuant to the village's Fire Commission local law, the Village Board of Trustees must approve the actions of the Board of Fire Commissioners. You therefore ask for a motion and a second to approve and ratify the nomination of Charles R. Quinn as fire chief.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to nominate and to ratify the nomination and the election of Charles R. Quinn as the fire chief. May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Counselor?
And with next motion pursuant to New York State, pursuant to the village's Fire Commission local law, the Village Board of Trustees must approve the actions of the Board of Fire Commissioners. Therefore, we need a motion and a second to approve and ratify the nomination of Michael Traynor as Assistant Fire Chief.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve and ratify the nomination and election of Michael Trainer as Assistant
Not
Fire Chief.
ele-
May I have a second?
Second.
All in
Just nom-
favor?
Just nomination.
Oh, just
Just
nomination
nomination. It's
of
okay.
Michael Trainer as Assistant Fire Chief.
And Gene, I can give you the language, the marked up language, the corrected language tomorrow.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Counselor.
Okay. At the recent fire company election, the company elected by ballot Thomas Trainer as captain, John Capsack as first lieutenant, and Charles T. Quinn as second lieutenant. The Village Board of Fire Commissioners recently voted to accept those elections. Pursuant to the village's fire commissioner local law, the Village Board of Trustees must approve the actions of the Board of Fire Commissioners. Therefore, the motion would be to seek a second to approve and ratify the election of Thomas Trainer as captain, John Capsack as first lieutenant, and Charles T. Quinn as second lieutenant.
All right, how do I do that?
You want me to do it?
Yep.
Okay, I'll make the motion and see, I'll make a motion to ratify the, the
Election
election
of Thomas
of
Trainer
Thomas Trainer as captain and John Capsack as first lieutenant and Charles T. Quinn as second lieutenant. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. All right, thank you for your help with that, Judge. All right, so with the absence of Trustee Brain, who is the village board's liaison to the Donahue Farm Steering Committee, I'm gonna keep this brief because I just don't have the bandwidth that he does on this. The committee last met on December 6th. The committee's next meeting is scheduled for January 3rd, right here in the Village Hall boardroom, and they are working towards getting their initial report to the village board with their recommendations for space usage and basically essentially a master plan for the piece of property that the village owns down there. Bill was also gonna brief the Donahue Farm Community Garden Fund. Gene, anything I need to add on that, or is there anything, nothing new, right?
Nothing.
Okay. I know that's one of the community garden is one of the first things that the steering committee would like to see realized down there at the property. So I know they're working towards that, and we are helping them with that as far as figuring out fundraising, things like that. And lastly, the Donahue Farm barn roof replacement. I'd like to thank the village clerk, and I'd like to thank Dave, and I'd like to thank the committee, the steering committee, for all the work they did in getting us the bid and getting this project started. The commitment from the contractor was that roof on the barn building, there's 4 buildings down there, and the barn building, obviously the largest building down there, will be watertight by Christmas, and the project will be wrapped up in 2 months. Do I have that right? More or less, somewhere in 2 months, it will be finished. They've been working on it now for how many weeks?
They have it pretty well watertight now.
Good.
So, I mean, they're still working, but
Yeah.
just like everything else, the roofing is on back order.
Yeah, supply chain. Yeah, that's it. That's the big thing. We just didn't want to go through another winter of letting Mother Nature in there. So good. Okay, that's that. And then moving on to Donahue Memorial Park composting toilets. So finally, and this was a project that was begun a number of years ago during Mayor Coyne's administration. I believe Senator Skoufis was successfully able to help secure a $60,000 DASNY grant, D-A-S-N-Y. We've had so many fits and starts on this across 2 administrations. I think if I heard one more time, they're gonna begin work on it this weekend. If I had a nickel for every time, I'd be a rich man. But with the help of DPW and Spagnoli Excavating that received the contract to do the actual install, Quality Auto Body for housing it, the actual prefab composting toilet building or facility, if you will, and then transporting it here for us. They were able to make the install in a day, and it was quite impressive to see. The 2 toilets are currently locked. The system, I can't even begin to explain the engineering behind it. You can Google it, but the types of things that go into it, it's sawdust and peat moss and different types of things. It's not a waterless system, but it is a limited water system. I'm interested to see how it works and how apparently the smells are vented out so that there's no typical pleasant aroma that comes from, outdoor, restroom facilities. But we have a little bit of time before we're gonna put this into play. We also have to secure a contract because it's a wonderful gift and it's a wonderful thing for the village to have, but you have to have a contract for somebody to come and essentially clean it out. It just doesn't sit in the ground. It has to be essentially cleaned out, just like you would with a porta potty or a standard porta-john. Dave, right?
Lasts
Yeah,
a lot
well-
longer though.
Yes.
We're gonna be working on getting somebody to do that. I believe we have, somebody in mind that will do it. There's still some work that has to be done to the inside of the building to finish it up, but, it's close.
It looks good. And
We're getting there. And obviously landscaping in the spring.
Yep, absolutely. No, it looks good. I mean, for down there, obviously, we don't want to add structures down to this thing. It's nestled tightly up against the railroad tracks and the shadow of the mountain, and it doesn't block any views or vistas. So I'm excited to see how it works out.
And one other thing, we should really thank Jean too, with all the work that she did on that grant.
Yeah.
She did the lion's share of the work, going back and forth, trying to make sure it was done, and I thanked her quite a bit for the help. She really helped me.
It was an
So-
arduous
She said she
process.
would finish the installation if it's necessary.
But without her help, that grant probably would have fallen through the cracks.
Thank you, Gene.
Great, thank you, Gene. All right, moving on. Moving on to the next thing, which is, are we already up to public comment? Oh, I'm missing a page, I'm sorry.
Pumper tanker.
Okay,
It's on there.
the 2023, 2024 draft budget, board discussion. The board got into some of the minutia at the last work session. We have a short window here. We already set the public hearing date tonight. The board has a limited amount of time because if we do not approve this budget at our January 23rd board business meeting, the first draft of the budget, not the current draft, is the one that goes into effect until a budget can be voted and approved on.
No, that's the budget.
That's the budget for the year, I'm sorry. So we, as Deputy Mayor Kane pointed out at our work session, he could not recall in the village's history a time where that had actually happened, where we did not make it, so.
Came close.
Came close? Yeah, yeah. So anyhow, we're working on that and we will continue to work on it. Is there any budget issue that a member of the board would like to bring up now?
I just have a few questions, Gene, but I can go offline with you and go over. It's not heavy lifting, it's just identifying a couple of things.
Sure, of course.
Okay. Without hearing anything else from the board, we will move on. The next item we already did, the 2023 line officers for the fire department, the pumper tanker truck. The attorney for the village, Judge McKay, was asked to review materials provided by the fire chief concerning the potential purchase of a fire truck from the Sourcewell Cooperative, and has determined that a purchase from Sourcewell would comply with New York state law. At the January business meeting, I would like to propose a resolution for the board to adopt so that this bond purchase can proceed. The length of service program, or LOSAP, at the January business meeting, I'd also like to adopt a resolution authorizing a proposition for referendum for volunteer firefighter defined service award program amendments. So those two items will be handled at the January business meeting for this village board. All right, moving on to FYI. So we conducted Winter Wonderland, which was one of the first times in recent memory that the village and the town worked very closely together in order to put together something that had never been done before, which was basically a street fair for the kids uptown. and then a town tree lighting, followed by a caravan of first responder vehicles and a couple of floats down Main Street and Hudson Street, and concluded with the lighting of the village Christmas tree. Went really, really well. I believe there's going to be an after-action review sometime in January, so all the committee chairs, we had so many committees, there's actually 6 different committees. Each of them can get together and basically talk about what worked, what didn't work, and what we need to change. I met this morning with members of the Cornwall Youth Committee and the town supervisor who came down here to meet today. And what we're proposing doing is each year switching it. So last year, all the afternoon stuff was uptown. And then next year, we're gonna start the event down in the village, and then we're gonna work our way up to the town, to the Christmas tree lighting uptown. So really excited about those committees that are working together, and they did a great job. I heard a lot of positive feedback. And I think most of the members of the board were around and department heads, so good time had by all. Hanukkah. So last night was the first of the 8 nights of Hanukkah. And Susie Yarmus, who is one of our part-time clerks that works in the front office at Village Hall here, this has become kind of, I think she said she inherited it about 15 years ago, and she runs the menorah lighting for the village. We have a menorah that is set up down by the bandstand. She does a great job. There were a number of people that are here tonight that were down there. She did a great job and led the lighting of the second candle, because tonight is the second night of Hanukkah, and just did a really nice job. The town's, ours was at 5:30, and then the town's was at 6 p.m. The Shabbat in New Windsor sent their rabbi over, and I think some of their rabbinical students over to observe it, and it was a very well-attended event. The weather cooperated, and Susie just does an outstanding job with it, so we thank her for that. Christmas and New Year's holidays. This year, it's going to be Friday, Monday that village offices will be closed. Friday, Monday. So this upcoming Friday, the following Monday, so 4-day weekend for village employees, except for Key and Essential, sorry. And then the same thing the following week for New Year's, Friday, Monday. Village Hall will be closed except for Key and Essential personnel. And
So can we talk about the garbage pickup?
More importantly, the recycling pickup, too.
Recycling pickup will go on normal, because we work on Wednesdays, but since we're missing a Friday and a Monday, we're not gonna be doing double pickup, we're just gonna be picking up on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesdays.
Garbage,
Gotcha.
garbage Tuesday, garbage Thursday,
Got it. Okay.
so everybody gets one pickup.
See, normally what happens if it's a Monday holiday, but you work on Friday, Dave's guys do double duty, and they do, because you're either Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday pickup, right?
Yep.
So they do double duty, and they get everybody that next day, Tuesday. Because Friday is off, they can't do it.
So the garbage will be picked up once?
Once per week for these 2 weeks,
Okay.
and the regular recycling pickup.
Yeah. I
All
mean,
right, let's make sure we
On behalf of the recycling
get it
committee.
clear, because
but I know.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Well,
I'd say
we'll
let's
just make sure, because
so
we'll get
we are
calls.
not picking up the whole village.
No, we're not picking up the whole village
That's-
Tuesday, we're
that's
just
what we
doing
really need to know.
Tuesday side on Tuesday and Thursday side on Thursday, we're not
And this
gonna.
only happens on the years where we have off on Friday and Monday. On typical Monday federal holidays or our holidays, they do double duty, but they don't do it when the Friday is off as well.
Gotcha.
All right, and that's a good thing for us trustees to make sure we share with our neighbors and friends and people that are gonna be asking about it, so that there isn't any misinformation. 'Cause people around this time of year tend to collect a lot of debris that needs to get picked up, so we need to let them know. That's, recycling does go up. All right, and then, lastly, for your information, the New Year's Eve ball drop, I have a meeting, Michael, we're meeting tomorrow night at 5:00, yes.
At your suggestion.
At my suggestion. Well, that's because I have to go to the town board meeting tomorrow night, so I just thought, you know what, I might as well stretch this out for everybody. So Mike and I and Elizabeth Bruschi, who has taken on the chair of the New Year's Eve ball drop, and did an amazing job with the Snow Queen and the Santa chair and the repair of the ball and the dressing up of the ball, and they're excited about it. So Mike and I are gonna sit down and have an initial meeting so we can see. One of the things that we had talked about doing, and we're gonna do our best to do this next year, it's just not gonna be possible schedule-wise to do it this year, is have a children's ball drop before the adult ball drop. Our community is getting younger demographically, and as there are more and more young folks with young children moving in, it'd be nice to have something at 6 o'clock for the kids, have them think that that's the big ball drop, then their parents can take them home and tuck them in, and then other adults, everybody else, the older kids can come out for the midnight one. That's not gonna happen this year, but we are setting our sights to do that for next year. Okay, that is, oh, and I guess, and Mike, we're still on track for a 10-minute firework display, which is gonna be epic?
I don't know if it's gonna be 10 minutes, but it's gonna be an epic 5-minute
All I
display.
need- all I need is epic, so, all right.
The gentleman told me today, picture the Fireman's Fair fireworks in 5 minutes.
Wow, that'll be a lot of raucous red glare at the same time, all
Has
right.
that fundraising goal been reached or no?
Our fundraising goal of $6,000, we're real close, we're about $800 shy, but we're getting there.
I'll hit the deputy mayor tonight for an $800 check.
We'll make it. We'll make it.
All right, they'll just pay cash. All right, that's all I got. So after FYI, now we're gonna move to public comment before I give it to the board for comment. So anybody from the public wishes to speak, they can speak on any item they'd like to. Please try to keep it within 3 minutes. State your name and address, and you can address the board. Sir.
Good evening, Brendan Coyne, 13 Paul Court. Just a couple of things. I appreciate, in terms of the budget, Bill had mentioned this, Bill Brain had mentioned this at our last farm meeting, that you've allocated some monies in various lines for other expenses other than the capital fund, and that's a good thing. I want to note, it's kind of piggybacking on what the mayor said in regard to Hanukkah, but first, Santa was here on Saturday and did a good job with the candy canes and all. And then, as Jim said, Susie does a great job. She always tries to inject a little bit of fun, and she did so again tonight. But all this helps build community here in the village, and we're very fortunate in having a wonderful community. And events like this, activities like this, just help to do it. I just note the passing of a resident of the town, used to be a resident of the village, Dave's brother John Conwright, and we said goodbye to him the other day. And now, lastly, I'll just say Happy Hanukkah, Happy Christmas, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Same to you. Anyone else from the public wish to address the board? All right, then we'll move on to board comments. Obviously, Trustee Brain is with family tonight at the high school, so we'll go to Trustee Gaylord.
Really no comments, just want to wish everyone a healthy and happy holiday and New Year.
Excellent. Trustee Cornwright.
I like on behalf of my family and Judy, my brother's wife, I'd like to thank everyone who participated in either the wake or the funeral and or both, along with Steve Dixon and all the police officers and everyone who came to the wake. We really appreciate it. John was a good guy, a good brother, and really a good public servant. He ran Little League for a long time and probably still be running it if he hadn't gotten sick. So, like I said, the family really appreciates all the support that we get from the community, and Rich was great, and so thank you.
Thanks, Dave. And Deputy Mayor Kane.
Just a few thanks to, with respect to the Winter Wonderland, thanks to the committees that worked on that. Shout out to Phyllis Murphy, who was just outstanding as the Snow Queen. She seems to step up to everything. And thanks also to the police department and DPW for handling things very well that evening. It was actually a great time. It was really, really good. And special thanks to Susie Yarmus at the menorah lighting tonight. She does an excellent job with that. And other than that, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and Happy Hanukkah.
I just, on behalf of the board, would like to extend our condolences, not just as colleagues, but I think we're all pretty close on this board, to Dave and his family. I think the Carnwrights have really established quite a legacy of service in this community. And I just thought it might be appropriate that in honor of John and the family, that we just have a moment of silence. All right. With that being the final matter before the board tonight, I am going to make a motion to close the business meeting of the Village Board of Cornwall and Hudson's Board of Trustees for December 19th, 2022. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, everybody, thanks for coming. Keep in mind, the microphones are still hot right now, so we'll pick up conversations. Not bad, right, Dave? Not bad, huh? You're lucky I didn't read the 29-page law number 2.
I personally am impressed.
I gotta get into that speed. I wish I could be like an auctioneer, the way that those guys go, blah, 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 and I try to read those things quick and I start stumbling over numbers.
I'll ask.
Okay.